Alright, so I'm sure we've all seen that pretty brutal footage of this protester or rioter or whatever you want to call him. Really, I guess psychopath is probably the best description, but this footage was horrible, in which he does a full-on soccer kick to a guy's head while he's sitting on the ground facing away from him. This was after people brought him to the ground and would not let him up, and kept ordering him to stay down while other protesters go search the car for weapons, apparently. And we later found out that a bunch of stuff was stolen out of this guy's truck, which he crashed into a tree because protesters were apparently chasing him, despite the fact that he claims he was trying to help a transgendered woman retrieve some stolen belongings and protect them. So, a lot going on. I wasn't there. I can't speak to precisely what the chain of events were. However, I think a few things are fairly revealing. First off, if you not only kick a person who's down, but kick a person who's already down and facing away from you, that is a special kind of pathetic. That is close to as low as it gets. It says a lot about you. You are a weak individual with no spine, and at the very least sociopathic tendencies. And also, if you are like these other people that went and ransacked his truck to steal stuff, you also likely have sociopathic tendencies, and you are a pathetic parasite as well, in my estimation at least. That is what you get with these little Marxists, and it shouldn't shock anyone. For as much as they claim they just want a fair, equitable society, do a little good for the working class, they are, as history has been a clear indicator, just a violent group of thugs. And it doesn't seem to change no matter what point of history you're at. It could have been the 1920s or the 2020s. Violence seems to be the common denominator among all of them. You hear it and you see it in everything they type, everything they chant, all their slogans, all their talking points. It's dripping with violence. It's an eagerness to just pummel and harm others. None of their nice-sounding rhetoric should fool anyone. At the bottom of this decaying ideology is a constant threat of violence that will manifest into true violence, as it often does. Now here's the weird part. It's something that is forgotten as time goes on with these protests, with these riots. These people are protesting and rioting and running around like over-medicated children for what? Well, it started because it was a call to do something about police violence. Well, do you notice how they're behaving exactly as police do when they are at their worst? Beating people while they're down, sucker punching people while they're not looking, commanding people to behave as they want them to behave, as they were telling this guy to stay down, shut up, just do as we tell you. And then, worse yet, they loot his car and steal from him. You notice how they are behaving in arguably a worse fashion than the very people they claim to be protesting against. Well, that's usually how it goes. Marxists may see a problem, and it may be a legitimate problem, but they overcorrect to an obscene degree, and instead of being focused and intentional on solving that specific issue, they just carpet bomb society and take innocent people with them. There's police brutality? Okay, let's go and beat innocent people to a pulp because we're upset over it. It makes no sense. As I said, socialism and Marxism can come across as something that is fervently working towards bettering people's lives, and even if they all were benevolent, peaceful people, it wouldn't work, but that's not even obviously the case. This ideology has poison in its DNA. It, at its core, is a violent, thuggish, destructive ideology. And isn't it also weird? Isn't it these people who claim some speech should be limited because speech is violence? Well, if they think speech is violence, then what the hell is this? I don't want any speech to be banned, but they shouldn't either, because if that rule is ever applied or implemented, they would be the first to be censored, unless, of course, the AOCs and Sanders of the world take over. But talk about speech and ideology paving the way for violence. It's not just this man being kicked in the head either. It's the other deaths, it's the other beatings, it's the other businesses being burned, and the other buildings having bricks thrown through their windows. It's a ridiculous ideology that should have been recognized as the insane ramblings it is, and discarded long ago. And guess what? This ideology does precisely what they rail on about. It leads to actual violence against innocent people. So it's very strange they'd be protesting against that, as that is precisely what they've been engaging in. Violence against innocent people. So this child kicking this man in the head is just a pathetic individual, and all the people around him cheering and chanting and looting his truck are his little playdates of sorts. They haven't grown up, They haven't learned how to control emotion or exercise impulse control or think rationally, and it shows. And that is also a great description for socialists and Marxists at large as well. A childish ideology with the brutish violence of ignorant adults. And it's all pathetic. But that is all for now. Like, sub, share, all that helpful, good stuff, and take it easy.